Good morning, everybody. How are you all doing? Good stuff. Well, thank you very much for coming. My name is Callum Martin, and I'm here today to present to you the Using at Home Flight Simulation Part 1, Why and How. So I do have a very British accent. I have traveled all the way from the UK to be able to come and deliver this, but I hope you have a fantastic time with us today. So yesterday when Evan said to us how many people were attending, I was blown away. But I was even more blown away by how many people had yet to use flight simulation, despite coming to a flight simulation-driven conference. So hopefully by the end of today's seminars, and it's not just mine, there are 3 parts in total, you'll have enough information and knowledge to really help you understand why there are so many passionate people here, and just how you can get involved in flight simulation yourself. So just a little bit about myself. My name is Callum Martin. Like I said, I'm from the UK. And just like you, or soon to be, I am just another simmer. So I enjoy the hobby, I am very passionate, and it's a very delightful hobby. I've made so many friends doing this. So just a little bit about me. I've been simming since Flight Sim 2000, with the infamous Bob King taking us through his flying school program, which is kind of what taught me where I am today. And I have worked in aviation in real world for over 5 years as well, in a variety of different roles, from being cabin crew and also from being a trainer as well. However, this is my first time back on stage in a few years, so I'm just a little bit nervous at the time. I'm also one of the co-founders of a flight sim news website called FS Elite, which we started back in 2016. And I'll give you a few more details about how we can help you as well in terms of kickstarting your journey into simulation as well. So a quick side note, everything you see on today's PowerPoint are taken straight from the simulators themselves, and many of which are from the community, which I think is just incredible and just shows that passion that people have. With the exception of this picture, so let's just fix that one right there. There we go. So yeah, I'm just a simmer, and hopefully by the end of today's presentation, you'll have a really good understanding of how you can get into flight simulation and some of the reasons why. So just a quick agenda for you. So like I said, why you should be using a flight simulator, and actually some of the benefits that will really help you get to know a little bit more about the passion and the hobby that we all so much love, and also how to first get involved. So I'm fully aware that it probably is very daunting walking out into that big exhibition hall to see so many different types of simulators, hardware, software. So today's presentation is truly just about giving you the very basics, so then you can kind of kickstart that journey as well. And I have to do all of that in 45 minutes. Well, probably about 41 now, because I've just been talking about my introduction and stuff. And we're going to have some time for some questions at the end as well. So firstly, why simulation? So I'm just going to tell you a very quick personal story about what happened to me and how I got involved in flight simulation, and maybe some of you can relate. So when I was 18, I got my very first flying lesson. In fact, it was going to be in the Piper Cherokee. So this is why I have such this is why I adore this aircraft for A2A simulations. So pilot took me up. I had lots of fun flying around, and I've always wanted to be a pilot, but I never really kind of knew how to get involved. After the flying, I landed, taxied to the stand, and the pilot who was showing me around said, "So what subjects are you doing at school?" I was doing media, law, and IT. And he turned around and said to me, "Well, none of those qualifications are going to get you to become a pilot." He said I needed maths and physics. A few years later, I realized just how wrong he actually was, because you don't need those qualifications necessarily. But his words kind of stuck in my mind for a very long time, being under the, I was quite influential at the time. And this is how I got into flight simulation, because I just enjoyed that experience and that thrill of flying, and I just needed a way to kind of take that fix, and simulation was that for me. But simulation isn't just about flying an aircraft, it is also making friends and joining communities. It's also about learning procedures and practicing these tough scenarios. And it gives you an opportunity to do something you may just not be able to do in real life. Of course, it may just depend on your circumstances as well. So if you're at a flight school, simulation is a fantastic tool to continue learning whilst at home and helping to drive those costs down as well. If you're already a pilot, it can help you keep familiar with the aircraft. I don't know if you've seen some of the aircraft out on the display over the weekend, but they are just incredible and detailed to the point where real pilots use them as training facilities. And also, if you're just keen to get involved, the learning possibilities within flight simulation are endless. Because it's something you can do at home, there's no additional cost having to depend on weather, having to depend on other people, and also you can kind of dabble in all sorts of different things, not just flying itself. And the other important reason is just to have fun. Okay, this is a very fun, passionate hobby that there's just so much you can do, and there's so many different kind of things that may interest you, that there's always something you can do to have fun. Now, I'm just going to take you through some of the very important first steps, and I'm really pleased to announce that you guys have already taken those steps to get involved in flight simulation. Attending flight sim events like FS Expo. Okay, this is the first very important step. For some people, it's quite a trip, like myself, but also it can be quite costly as well. So being here today is that very first important step about learning how you can get involved into simulation. Attending seminars at home about home simulation. So like I said, it's a 3-part series, and today is just kind of that introduction for you. Some other steps you could also take: visiting online communities, joining different Facebook groups if you're on social media, and also just taking a jump and actually buying a simulator. And as I go through this PowerPoint today, I'll give you some ideas about the different sims out there and the benefits that each of them have. So the first thing we need to start is PC hardware. Of all the things I think to talk about, PC hardware I find is one of the easiest things to kind of advise on, because actually there are a lot of choices out there, but there are only a few that work really well. We're also going to talk about the simulator and which simulator is probably best depending on your needs. Then we're going to have a quick dive through some of the aircraft out there which the community have recommended to people in this room, different airports, weather engines, and flight controls. All of this is just the basics. However, there are so much other considerations as well, from regions, flight planning, texture replacement tools, AI traffic tools, virtual airlines, shaders, PBR, performance tools, camera settings, and online flying. Welcome to flight simulation. However, it is very overwhelming, but today is just about the basics, okay? So, PC hardware, like I said, is probably one of the easiest things I can recommend, because being in North America, there is only really one company I would happily say they are the people to go to about a PC hardware, and that is Jetline Systems. The little red aeroplane in the corner there is just to let you know that they are exhibiting here today, so be sure after this to go check them out and speak to them. The reason I recommend Jetline Systems is because they build PCs specifically for the simulator. They make sure they're tested with the simulator in mind, so there's no bloatware or anything else on there that could impact your performance. And when it comes to flight simulation, performance is incredibly important. So one of the mid-range computers that they sell is the Gravity GT2. And this isn't kind of I'm not on commission or anything like that. This is purely just to kind of say, if you're looking for a good range performance, this is the sort of technology and the hardware you probably should be investing in. So for CPUs, it's about having one of the best processors, and that is Intel's i7 processor. And flight simulation is very dependent on clock speeds, so making sure you have a high clock speed is also incredibly important. When it comes to the GPU, NVIDIA is absolutely the way to go. They have, they're increasing driver support with all these simulators becoming more and more popular. And when it comes to RAM, 16 gigabyte should be kind of the thing you're aiming for, especially as 64-bit simulators are becoming more and more popular. They are extremely helpful as well. So I see some of you are taking some pictures, so I'll just leave that up just for a second. The thing with flight simulation, and with any hobby, it's not cheap. So this mid-range PC does retail from Jetline for $2,799, which understandably is a massive investment when you first get started into flight simulation. But this sort of PC with these specs will last you at least 3 to 5 years, at least in my experience anyway. Obviously, the more and more you kind of push and the more you want from performance, then that price goes up as well. But for those who may kind of need a bit more of a overall spectrum, hopefully this slide kind of gives you a bit of an idea of kind of where you might have those settings set. So if you're looking to kind of be a little bit more on the budget end, then maybe an i5 processor and a GeForce RTX 2060. I would always recommend at least 8 gigabytes of RAM, just because once you've got the sim, weather engines, and other applications open, it does start to eat that memory. And of course, if you want to go all the way the other end and get it as real as it gets, then that's when you're going to be really investing in some of that hardware. Speak to the Jetline system guys. They are very, very good and very easy to talk to. And if you tell them kind of what you're looking for, then they'll be able to recommend the right specs for you. So what about simulators? So when it comes to desktop simulation platforms, there are two very clear, distinct simulators out there. And that is Lockheed Martin Prepared version 4 and also X-Plane 11. So X-Plane 11 from Laminar Research does have a stand just outside of these conference halls, so feel free to check them out. And I know the Lockheed Martin guys are also walking around as well in prepared shirts. So a common question I get asked is, which simulator is correct for me? The honest answer is, there is no right simulator for anyone. Both of them have very, very distinct benefits, and they both do exceptionally well for the things that they are programmed to do. However, there are some things that I do prefer about one simulator to the other, and vice versa. So for example, Prepared is a very familiar platform for anyone who's used an FSX before, or anything before it, such as FS 2004. So if you haven't used flight simulation in a while and you're trying to get back into it, Prepared is a very easy and recognizable platform for you to use. Prepared also has massive third-party support from a huge variety of different add-ons. So as I mentioned earlier, you've got weather engines, aircraft, scenery. Prepared definitely has a lot of content already available for people to enjoy. So your favorite airport, your favorite aircraft, there's a lot already for this simulator. Prepared also, for me, personally, features seasonal textures, built-in scenario mode, and also better weather handling in general. And that is why some of the reasons why I prefer Prepared. So when it comes to X-Plane, you can also experience an incredible simulator right out of the box. So this screenshot is by default, okay? So you get excellent in-sim rendering for crisp, clear, and colorful textures straight as soon as you install it. X-Plane 11 also uses something called Blade Element Simulation, which, unlike Prepared, this actually reads aircraft in the simulator itself. So every kind of rivet, every wing, every kind of bump or scratch on the surface of that aircraft, the simulator can read, and it will affect the flying performance and dynamics as well. And the other thing I really enjoy about X-Plane is the huge amount of freeware content as well. So this right here is completely free. This is a developer called Mr. X, and this is his Los Angeles airport. And everything you see in that screenshot is completely free of charge to download and install. So when it comes to a few other things you might need to consider when thinking about the simulators, it comes firstly down to price. So for Lockheed Martins, there are two different types of licenses. Both licenses include the full simulator itself, so there's no differences. The difference between the licensing is purely down to your use of it. So I recommend that you read the Lockheed Martin website for further details, but just to give you an idea of the difference in the pricing. And when it comes to X-Plane, it's a very easy $59.99 for you to kind of get involved. In terms of setup, again, these are just personal preferences, and hopefully some advice just to kind of get you kick-started in deciding which simulator is good for you. Prepared is very easy to run as a default, but it will require a lot of add-ons to kind of get you looking like some of those screenshots that you saw earlier. However, finding those add-ons are incredibly easy thanks to the online communities and media sites as well. When it comes to X-Plane, you can download X-Plane from Steam, which is a very easy benefit for those who just want easy to update installation. But it does have less out-of-the-box features, as it were, compared to Prepared. So again, you need to kind of look for those add-ons to really help make your sim kind of easier and much more intuitive as well. And when it comes to add-ons, There is a lot more variation, I think, in terms of airports, regions, and aircraft with more realism and system depth on prepared. Whereas X-Plane, like I said, there is just a massive range of freeware scenery, and there's a huge number of increasing payroll quality stuff as well from a variety of different developers as well. So, add-ons. So you've already spent all that money on your simulator and your PC, and you're thinking, this looks good. And then you start to dive into the add-on markets, and you think, oh, I want that plane, I want this aircraft, I want this scenery. And suddenly you look to your partner and you go, please? So over the next few slides, flight simulation is a very beautiful platform for us to kind of use and enjoy. And the community are incredible and at the heart of what we do. It's not always easy to find the perfect one, but like I said, asking people, being at events like this really does help. Because the community are really important, at FS Elite we value that massively. So what we did a few weeks ago before this show is we asked the community if they were to recommend an aircraft or other products to brand new simmers, what would it be and why? So Thomas recommended the A2A Cessna or Comanche, incredible GA aircraft that will really get you kick-started on your journey for flight simulation. For those who are looking for the more system depth Airbus flying, the FS Labs A320X is an incredible platform for you to use. And for those who want something a little bit more quirky and a little bit kind of more classic, then the TFDI Design 717, which is actually being demoed outside, is also a really good addition to your simulator as well for aircraft. And finally, the PMDG 737 NGX is a classic amongst simmers within the community, so I highly recommend that you also, if you're interested in this type of flying, check this out as well. When it comes to X-Plane, this is the ZiboMod 737, so this takes the default one within the sim and adds a whole bunch of complexity and system detail. This, again, is free of charge, okay? So another aircraft that you can use within the sim to simulate maybe some of those short-haul flights you like to do. The JAR Design Airbus A330, for those who maybe want to do some more long-haul flying. And the Heartstart TPM 900 is a fantastic addition for those who are looking to kind of travel a little bit further and faster, but in a small, really compelling aircraft too. And also the Just Flight Cessna 152 in X-Plane is, again, another great addition to your general aviation library within X-Plane. So moving on to scenery, there's a huge plethora, and I think one of the first recommendations, if you're going to get prepared, is Orbex Global. It would literally transform the entire globe from the default textures into something much more realistic, very much depending on the regions. Drzwicki Design, Seattle City, I mean, just their cityscapes are incredible. So if you enjoy that kind of weaving in around tall towers and skyscrapers, these are definitely the people you want to check out. Flightbeam San Francisco HD was recommended by Kieran. Anything by Flightbeam I would easily recommend you check out, but I know San Francisco is a hugely popular airport just because of all the different routes and types of flying you can do out of there. And one of my personal favorites is Orbex Innsbruck as well. That European location, the mountains, the challenging approach, the weather. If you really want to test your flying capabilities, this is the airport to do it. When it comes to X-Plane, Orbex True Earth Great Britain South will literally make the region of the UK look photorealistic. It uses incredible detail and technology to give you an in-sim screenshot looking just like this. Fly Tampa do an excellent rendition of Corfu, so if you enjoy island approaches, this is another one you should probably check out. And Mr. X, I mentioned him earlier, but also Anis also recommended this from Portland as well. And again, this is freeware. And finally, A-Worthy Designs from Daniel P was recommended, again, just to give you that challenging approach going over Moho Beach. And finally, when it comes to the utilities, now this is where it gets kind of complex. And actually, one of the best things about utilities is there's a lot of cross-compatibility as well. So it doesn't then matter which simulator you get. One of the Typo there, my bad. So this is a program called Chaseplane from Old Prop, and all it does is it enables you to have different cameras. I will amend this, and when this goes online and distributed, I'll make sure this is fixed. Another one that is recommended by me personally is a program called Tomato Shade. So some of the screenshots you've seen have really great coloring, great bloom lighting, HDR effects, and PBR, which is all ways that the simulator looks and feels a little bit more realistic. So this software will take some of the data from the sim and actually change it, and you can make the simulator look and feel exactly as you like. It can be quite a complex program, but luckily there's a community out there which do profiles, and you can download and install, and you can see it on the fly. This program, Tomato Shade, is completely free. So this is where I was saying you can start to kind of get software that kind of works for a bit of both. They are different licenses. However, Hi-Fi SimTech, again, which are here today, have a fantastic tool called ActiveSky, and this will provide realistic, real-time weather directly into your sim. So everything from cloud systems, cell build-ups, wind, icing, it will inject it into either Prepared or X-Plane, depending on which one you buy. Something I feel is absolutely necessary, especially if you're trying to do realistic flying, is Navigraph charts and the FMS data. So again, this is quite cool because you can just buy one subscription license and it will cover you for a plethora of different sims, including both Prepared and X-Plane. So when it comes to X-Plane utilities, something I've been recommended time and time again by the community is Reshade. And this does a very similar tool. It allows you to adjust how your simulator looks to your preference. Better pushback. So we all kind of want to start at the gate, do all the preparation, and then push back like a regular aircraft would from stand. So this system will allow you to literally direct where your plane should go, depending on the taxiway markings as well. And also the scenery animation manager in X-Plane as well will give you things like jetway systems which attach to the doors, as well as different airport vehicles as well scattered around. So, which sim is right for me? There's a lot of information up on these screens and there's a lot of pictures and stuff. As I mentioned earlier, one sim does not fit all. I am of the firm believer that you can happily and easily run both simulators in your computer without any issues at all. For me personally, I use the simulators for different reasons. In Prepared, I prefer it for long-haul flying, just because so some of the aircraft in there I find are a little bit more system detailed, but that's just me. Like I said earlier, there are still long-haul aircraft for X-Plane that you can get involved with. The airports in Prepared, as I mentioned earlier, there is a much bigger library to choose from, and also simply my friends use Prepared more, so I spend a lot more time flying online with them. And when it comes to X-Plane, I really enjoy the GA flying, the crisp, clear textures as you're moving through some of the mountains around London and stuff just look incredible. Virtual reality, I think, is much more suited to X-Plane, just again because of that crisp, clear technology. And also, if I want to just do general sightseeing, X-Plane 11, again, is the simulator I prefer for that. Both sims are fantastic, and it really just depends on what your preference of type of flying would be, to which one I would recommend trying first. But absolutely, if you can and you're willing to, get both, because they offered such different experiences, and like I said, some licenses are cross-compatible. So upon reflection, simulation really is a fantastic tool for many people. So whether it's for familiarization, learning skills, or simply to have fun, it's a really great thing to embark upon. The choice of sim really just depends on what you want from it. Equally, there's no harm owning multiple simulators. Add-ons will take your stock sim and just give you the power to make it your own. So you don't have to buy all these add-ons to complete your sim. You buy what you would like to kind of make that custom experience. So getting involved in the community, I've talked a lot about the community. There are so many things out there that I would recommend you check out. So we have the Sky Lounge, which are walking around. In fact, they showed off a really cool utility yesterday from the guys at Parallel 42. AvSim is one of the oldest online communities around, so be sure to check them out. They are it's an encyclopedia of information and people to help you. Xplane.org, so if you're looking to invest in Xplane, that is definitely the place to go. And again, Threshold, they offer a really good choice of X-Plane content for you to enjoy too. Helisimmer, one of my good friends, Sergio, if you're interested in helicopter flying, he has a presentation later today at 1:30, so be sure to come and see that as well. And finally, Jetstream Radio, so if you enjoy listening to music whilst you fly, definitely go see them as well, because they offer a really good insight into simulation too. And us, FS Elite. So we are one of the leading media partners out here. It's been an absolute honor to be here today to show you. We are a team of dedicated 25 people, so we cover all of the simulators you've seen today. We have daily content for hardware, simulation, and more than what we've spoken about today. We engage with the community, as we showed you earlier. We like to ask the community questions and get their feedback. And always looking for people to join a team. So if you're embarking on your simulation journey today, then absolutely come say hello. Maybe we can get you on the team, and that will really give you the experience and the knowledge to really help you kind of get kick-started in the whole simulation thing. So we want to be the ultimate resource for your flight simulation content. So come check us out. So finally, before I go, just a few things worth mentioning. There are other simulators out there too. I'm not sure if anyone's seen, but Infinite Flight, this is all on your mobile, what you're seeing right here, so it's available on Android and iOS. It's a fantastic way to kind of kickstart without all that expense of buying a $2,500 computer, and you can do it on your phone that you already have today. It's not system detailed like you've seen on the desktop stuff, but if you're just looking for that flying fix, it's definitely worth checking out. And for those who want to do a little bit more combat, a bit more competitive, then DCS is definitely the thing for you to try. Thrustmaster at the back of the exhibitor hall, they have a fantastic booth set up for you to check out, and you can fly and you can do aerial dogfights and all other great stuff as well. And that is a PC simulation as well. When it comes to online flying, as I mentioned earlier, just a very quick shout out that part 2 will be happening with Sebastian at 11:45. And then Ethan will be taking the stage at 12:30 as well for the online flying stuff. So thank you very much for your time so far. I'm happy to take any questions. Yes, sir.
The P3D licensing, if you're a student pilot, you qualify for the cheaper student?
I don't want to speak on behalf of Lockheed Martin in case they're in the room, but I would just check out the website. There's like a checklist where literally if you fall into this category, this is the license you should have, and there'll be like tick boxes and stuff, so that should be able to help you out with that question. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. So the question was, is the presentation online? It will be, most likely after today's event, and I will make sure that it is fed through Evan, so then he can share it through Hoover and all the other outlets as well. Yes, sir.
Any reason why you don't mention FSX as an entry-level simulator?
So the reason I haven't mentioned FSX as an entry level, it's a great platform, and it's kind of what's brought us here today. For me personally, FSX is a platform which is a very old platform. It's seen its legs of life, and I think it's time that if I'm trying to recommend new people to the world of flight simulation, let's stick with what the technology will be in the future, because there'll be nothing worse, I imagine, if I'm up here saying, buy FSX, and you buy the licenses and the content for FSX, and then you realize that platform is starting to no longer be developed for. It'd be quite frustrating, because sometimes you have to buy the licenses again. Yes, sir.
What's the difference between the professional and the prepared thing?
So the difference between the licenses, the sim itself is exactly the same, they're identical. The licenses purely just comes down to what your situation is like personally. So if you are a student pilot, then your license could be different to if you're trying to do it for training purposes. So again, I know it's kind of lame for me to say check out the prepared site, but it really is like got the tick boxes and stuff to really help you out with that. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Sorry, could you repeat that?
X-Plane 11, can you only get it through Steam?
No, so it's on Steam, but you can also download it through the X-Plane website itself, and it just depends whatever's easiest for you. No, so you can, if you go to xplane.com or Sorry. All good? Awesome. Any other questions? Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoy the rest of Flight Sim Expo 2019. If you do have any other questions, feel free to come to the FS Elite booth. We're number 601, and the team will be happy to answer any further questions. Have a great day.